We have to get to the basics of inheritance tax. It is a tax on death on the assets you own. So one way, and I say this to clients in a joking way, if you want to avoid inheritance tax, die poor. Just spend it all. The thing that, and the reason this is such a political hot potato, I think, is that although not many people pay inheritance tax, it's about 4% of all estates. It is, as Kate says, an aspirational tax. We all want to leave something to our children. For those that have children, it's a natural human thing to do. And to be told, as I have to tell my clients, oh, by the way, the state's going to take 40% of what you leave to your children. They just hate the idea of that. And I think that the human angle on this is that bereavement, is emotionally very tough for people, as you can imagine. And then to be told by the lawyer that's dealing with the probate, oh, by the way, the state is also going to take 40% of the home that your parents have lived in and you were brought up in. It's a double blow. And that's why it's such a political hot potato, but it doesn't bring in much tax. It brings in £7 billion, which is a tiny amount of money. I mean, the UK's debt repayments, just the interest alone per month is about 10 billion. It's a sideshow fiscally, but I think politically it's a huge deal.
It's really interesting you say that, and it sounds like there's almost unanimous dissatisfaction from your clients when you bring them the good news of inheritance tax at that particular point. I just wonder then, if I can put this to you, I mentioned in passing earlier, James, that perhaps if you're wealthy, you might have certain ways of certainly reducing your inheritance tax burden. I refer to it as sidestepping. Somebody texted in saying what you said is absolutely bonkers, Callum. There's no way to sidestep inheritance tax. Is that true? I've heard conversations about trusts, for example, and that might be a way for families to not be stung so much by inheritance tax.
I think it's a common misconception that wealthy people can just make any tax go away by speaking to an expensive tax lawyer like me. And I wish it were true. But we have to get to the basics of inheritance tax. It is a tax on death on the assets you own. So one way, and I say this to clients in a joking way, if you want to avoid inheritance tax, die poor. Just spend it all. That will reduce your inheritance tax liability to nil. Also, you can give everything away. The way our system works is we don't tax lifetime gifts. So you can just give all of your property away, but with the important proviso that you can't give away something and continue to enjoy it. So before you ask me, well, that surely you can just give away your home. You can't. If you carry on living in the home that you've tried to give away, it's dragged back into your estate for tax purposes. So the tax man and the politicians have thought about this. If it were really easy to avoid inheritance tax, you wouldn't need people to advise you on inheritance tax. It is actually quite difficult. You can use trusts, but there are anti-avoidance rules on trusts, and trusts themselves become taxable entities for inheritance tax purposes. So it is really much more complicated picture than it might seem.
Yeah. James, I'm so grateful for you explaining it so clearly and so helpfully. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.